Namo Vishnupadaaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Niti Namine Namo Vishnupadaaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashata Deshatarine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanut Pranam.
दंडवत प्रणाम।
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful, wonderful Kirtan. And thank you to Amit
All
Prabhu.
rest Srila
Amit
Prabhupada.
Prabhu. Thank you to both of you. You did a very wonderful Kirtan. And Hare Krishna and Pranam dear devotees. So welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading session. And so interesting quiz today. We have the quiz for the whole chapter number 3. We completed chapter 3 yesterday. So let me share my screen. Total 10 devotees have participated so far in the quiz. Okay, so no double attempts today. And these are the positions. Atul Prabhu, number 1, with 10,510 points. And then we have somebody called as A. We do not know who that personality or person is. They are requested to please reveal their identity. So then we have number 2 position as Ankur Prabhu, Hari Bol, with 8590 points. Anshi Mataji, third position with 8550 points, very close competition. Anupama Mataji with 8480 points, very, very close again. And then we have Saurav Vatla Prabhu, again very close, score 8310 point. Pinky Mataji, they have all got one question wrong. We do not know which one is it. And then Nina Mataji with 3 wrong questions, or I should say 7 right questions. And then we have Sham Sundar Prabhu with 6 correct. Vijay Mataji did not fully attempt. So let me refresh. We'll also see the questions also. That किसके क्या गलत होगा देखते हैं एक बार वो भी. So again the position remains the same. So I think Ankur Prabhu was there only at second position. So let us see the questions. किसके सबसे ज़्यादा question गलत हुए? Lord Kapil. Somebody answered as Lord Shiva also. And then इसका भी गलत हो गया. Lord Krishna himself became Indra and his pastimes relate to which incarnation is Yagya. Somebody said Rishabdev also. No, it is Yagya as incarnation. ये एक ट्रिक क्वेश्चन मैंने फिर से कर दिया था. जब लास्ट टाइम हमने क्वेश्चन दिया था तो ये गलत था इसका आंसर. और अब इसका आंसर ठीक करके वापस दिया है. सोसाइटी ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग्स इज एक्चुअली डिवाइडेड इनटू 8 वर्ण, 4 वर्ण एंड 4 आश्रम. तो जो पहले क्वेश्चन था उसमें गलत था. तो अब जिसने ये 2 फॉल्स करा है तो वो सोच के किया है कि पहले भी गलत था तो अभी भी गलत होगा. तो ये ट्रिक थोड़ा सा खेल दिया हमने. और बाकी ऑलमोस्ट सबके सही आंसर. ये गलत हुआ. हाँ, सो दिस वाज द little tough question that we had put, that Lord descends by his own potency, which is called as Atma Maya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia are not therefore creation of matter. The potency is called as Atma Maya, not Atma Tattva. So this is the answer. असीम गोपुत्र बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन बनाते हैं, कभी कभी मैं उसको ट्रिकी करके मुश्किल बना देता हूँ कभी कभी. सो आई बेग फॉरगिवनेस फॉर दैट. So yesterday we completed chapter number 3, and in there we did the last 3 shlokas. Very amazing, wonderful shlokas where the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam are being told, and much more important, like when we were reading yesterday, I was just relishing the Prabhupada purport, like what purport that Prabhupada gave to those verses, where 42, 43 and 44, where Sukhdev Goswami, where it is mentioned that from Vyasdev to Sukhdev Goswami, and then from Sukhdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, and then like that, and that is how the Srimad Bhagavatam has been flowing as good in disciplic succession. And then 43rd number shlok, that Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. And it is the reason just after Krishna had departed to his abode, and this is like the son of the people of Kali Yuga. So like in the absence of Krishna, it is Srimad Bhagavatam actually that which is there in the absence of Krishna, and it is there as literary incarnation. And then in the 44th verse, we heard that the two most important things are there. When we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we must hear it with rapt attention, you know? And then we will be able to understand the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned multiple number of times on hearing and hearing and hearing, that how hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam only is the only qualification that we need, that we simply have to hear, and that will do all the thing that we need. It will fulfill all the purpose. Simply what we do, that Sushusha Shraddhadhanasya Vasudeve Katharuchi. So this comes in second canto. Sushusha Shraddhadhanasya Vasudeve Katharuchi. That we simply with faith and with little with rapt attention we hear Shushusha Shraddhadhanasya. What do we hear? Vasudeve Katharuchi. We hear the pastimes of Lord. And now we are going to start with the fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is called as the appearance of Sri Narad. So here in the first 13, 14 shlokas, actually this Bhagavatam is coming from where Shaunak Rishi is asking questions to Sud Goswami, and Sud Goswami is telling that, oh, I heard it from in the Naimisharanya, in the Sabha of where Parishit Maharaj was asking question to Sukhdev Goswami. And now Shaunak Rishi is asking questions that, okay, tell me about that. How did this compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam come forward, and what are and how did Sukhdev Goswami? What are the activities of Sukhdev Goswami, and how did he speak to Parishit Maharaj? Who was Parikshit Maharaj, and what was the birth and activities of Maharaj, and why did he give everything up, and why did he give up and came to Naimisharanya to hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days? He did not eat and did not sleep, and and then we and then further in this canto we will understand that how Srila Vyasdev, his journey of dividing the Ved into 4 Vedas, and then compiled Mahabharat, and then he addresses his dissatisfaction, and then Naradji comes and he addresses his dissatisfaction to him, and so like that. So when Naradji visits Vyasdev, so that is where the title comes, the appearance of Sri Narad. So that is how it will flow. So then we will understand and read. So does anybody want to read? Because I already spoke. Uncle Prabhu wants to read. Yes, Prabhu. Should I read the Sanskrit?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. Vyasa uvacha iti bruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha satrinam vriddha kulapati sutam Bahavricha Shaunako Abravit.
So I'll start with synonyms. Vyasa, Vyasadev, Uvacha said, Iti, thus, Bruhavanam, speaking, Samstuya, congratulating, Muninam, of the great sages, Dirgha, prolonged, Satrinam, of those engaged in the performance of sacrifice, Vriddha, elderly, Kulapati, head of the assembly, Sutam, unto Sut Goswami, Bahurchah, learned, Shaunaka, of the name Shaunak, Abravit, addressed.
Vyasa. So I would have to interrupt you. We didn't do the Mangalacharan. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Doshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Yes, Prabhu, so sorry.
Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak thus. Shaunak Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Purport. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for the speaker, the qualifications of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri Shaunak Rishi had all those qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from Shukdev Goswami and also realized it personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Shaunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker, Sri Sut Goswami, simply by his uttering y- Yatha Adhitam and Yatha Mati, and therefore he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Acharya. So, the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of Bhagavatam so that real purpose can be served without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purposes is useless labor both for the speaker and for the audience.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. So they say we read about Prabhupada that how he is mentioning about realization that sometimes when there is a class or we sometimes get too excited and try to tell something or try to overpass or overcome something which has been told by somebody else in the previous session or something. So we should not do that. So Prabhupada says that personal realization does not mean that one should out of vanity attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. So we should not jump, or we should stick to what the previous acharyas have said, or and even if there is something which is deviatingly we are trying to say, we can quote that, oh, I have heard it from this devotee, or I have heard it from this authority. So that I remember, because why I'm telling you, because I recently did something which was a mistake, and I understood it little later that this is something that I did, but I shouldn't have done that. And once Bhakti Premaraj was also there, he also gave the same message when he was giving the class in ISKCON Gurgaon in during the Gaur Purnima, that if there are set of series of sessions which are going on, and now each of the speaker has their own way of presenting and their own way of telling, and sometimes the previous speaker has said something, and the new speaker, they may have new revelations or something, but still, even if there are new or there may be some mistakes, they should not trespass or overcome those things that have been told, because that is not the right way. And this comes from the fact that how Sud Goswami, um, on hearing Sud Goswami, Sukdev Goswami is addressing Sud Goswami, and he's congratulating and addressing. So we understand also that the original purpose of the text must be maintained. So that is the Prabhupada says that is called realization, and should be presented in an interesting manner for the audience, of for the understanding of the audience. Okay, let's read further. Shaunaka uvacha Sut Sut Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatamvara Katham Bhagavatim Punyam Yad Aha Bhagavan Chukaha. Is there anybody else who wants to read? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Shaunak Uvacha said, Suta, O Sut Goswami, Mahabhaga, the most fortunate, Vada, please speak, Nah, unto us, Vadatam, to of those who can speak, Vara, respected, Katham, message, Bhagavatim, of the Bhagavatam, Punyam, pious, Yat, which, Aha, said, Bhagwan, greatly powerful, Sukha, Sri Shukdev Goswami. Translation: Shaunak said, O Sut Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukdev Goswami. Purport: Sut Goswami is twice addressed herein by Shaunak Goswami out of great joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Shukdev Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interrupt in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meaning out of Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views, and the professional reader at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastime. Neither of these reciters and are bona fide person to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadeva Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Shukdev Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have a small question. Can I ask now?
We can ask in the end, you can note it down.
Sure, Ji Prabhuji.
Kasmin yuge pravarteyam sthane vakena hetuna kutha sanchodita Krishna kritvan samhitam muni. Yes, Vrindavan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Kasmin, in which yuge period pravritta was begun, iyam this, sthane in the place, va or ken on what, hetuna ground, kutaha where from, sanchoditah inspired by, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasa Kritvan compiled Samhitam Vedic literature Muni the learned. Translation: in what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? Because because the Srimad Bhagavatam is the special contribution of Srila Vyasadeva, there are so many inquiries by the learned Shonak Muni. It was known to them that Srila Vyasadeva had already explained the text of the Vedas in various ways up to the Mahabharata for the understanding of less intelligent women, Shudras, and fallen members of the family of twice-born men. Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all of them because it has nothing to do with anything mundane. So the inquiries are very intelligent and relevant.
So now they are asking that how did it came up actually? How did Srila Vyasadeva compile Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes, Prabhu, continue. You can-
तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समुद्रन् निर्विकल्पः एकांतमतिर् उनित्रो गुढो मूढ़ा इवेयते. Synonyms: Tasya, his putra, son; Mahayogi, great devotee; Samdrik, equibalanced; Nirvikalpaha, absolute monist; Ekant matihi, fixed in monism or oneness of mind; Unidraha, surpassed nescience; Gudha, not exposed; Mudha, stunted; Eva, like; Iyate, appears like. Translation: His Vyasdev's son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Purport: Srila Sukdev Goswami was a liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert, not to be trapped by the illusory energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, this alertness is very lucidly explained. The liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in the progressive path of spiritual attainment, which is something like a dream for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagements of the liberated soul. While the conditioned soul thus dreams about spiritual engagements, the liberated soul is awake. Similarly, the engagement of a conditioned soul appears to be a dream for the liberated soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they are differently engaged, and their attention is always alert, either in the sense enjoyment or in self-realization. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is explained as follows.
Continue, Prabhu.
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिम् आत्मजम् अपि अनग्नं देव्योर्या परिदधुर्नासु तस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्री पुंबीडा नातु सुतस्य विविक्ता दृष्टेः. Drishtva, by seeing; Anuyantam, following; Rishim, the sage; Atmajam, his son; Api, in spite of; Anagnam, not naked; Devyaha, beautiful damsels; Riya, out of shyness; Paridadhu, covered the body; Na, not; Sutasya, of the son; Chitram, astonishing; Tat Viksya, by seeing that; Prichati, asking; Munau, unto the Muni Vyas; Jagadhu, replied; Tav, your; Asti, there are; Stripum, male and female; Bhida, differences; Na, not; Tu, but; Sutasya, of the son; Vivikta, purified; Drishte, of the one who looks. Translation: While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth. Although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Purport: In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahman, a Chandal, dog eater, a dog, or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Sukdev Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor, just as by looking at a child one can understand how innocent he is. Sukdev Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Sukdev Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualifications, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and female, otherwise, he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Sukdev Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sukdev Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Roy. Anand Vilasini Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Text 6. Katham alakshita pore sampraptah kuru jangalan unmata mukha jadavad vicharan gaj sahavahe. Katham, how, alakshitah, recognized, pore, by the citizens, sampraptah, reaching, Kuru Jangalan, the Kuru Jangal provinces, Unmatah, mad, Mukha, dumb, Jadavat, stunned, Vicharan, wandering, Gaja Sahavahe, Hastinapur. Translation. How was he, Srila Shukdev, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizen when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? Purport. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Shukdev, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizen to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see but to hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sage, not to see, words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Shukadev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizen. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted junglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated transcendental personality.
Yes. So, like as mentioned, so actually, Sukadev Goswami, he was an avadut, and that is why he appeared like that and roaming naked, and being like a madman, and like, but as Prabhupada mentions that he was the most elevated transcendental personality, and that we see that how, because he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam and like that, and जैसे प्रभुपाद यहाँ पे लिखते हैं that a sage is therefore recognized not by sight but by hearing. Similarly, that a foolish person is also recognized when he speaks, and the sage is recognized when we hear from them. So like that. So that is why it is given most emphasis that we hear from the sadhus, what the guru and the sadhu says. We hear from them, and if we want to serve them, but we do not want to hear them, there is no meaning for that. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. So like that. So with this, it's already 8:16. So Ankur Prabhu had a question. And if
Ji,
there are
Prabhuji.
more questions, you can take
My
it.
question is from the second verse.
Yes, Prabhu.
So in that verse, Prabhuji, जो शौनक ऋषि ने जब सूत गोस्वामी को एड्रेस किया तो उन्होंने उन्हें भगवान बोला. In this श्लोक उन्होंने बोला भगवान शुक्र. So I mean, although
नहीं, भगवान शुक्र, हाँ, greatly powerful.
हाँ, मतलब ट्रांसलेशन में yes it is greatly powerful, but I mean
हाँ, so ये आप पढ़ेंगे, ये बहुत जगह आएगा, जैसे महाभारत में क्या आता है that they are this incitation of Bhagwan, it keeps on coming, like where others are being said as Bhagwan, but it means differently.
Okay,
So
exactly.
It is not that when we say Bhagwan as in that Bhagwan. अभी महाभारत में बहुत जगह आएगा कि सूर्य भगवान, उसके बाद चंद्र भगवान, उसके बाद बहुत जगह आप पढ़ेंगे ऐसा आता है. So, but that is where we need the tika of the acharyas.
Right. वही मैं समझना चाहता था कि मतलब
ये है, this is like that.
Okay. ठीक है प्रभु जी. Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
Yes.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी. एक क्लैरिफिकेशन थी, जैसे सुखदेव गोस्वामी जी ने तो मतलब 7 days में ये कंप्लीट की थी भागवतम परीक्षित महाराज जी को. तो जब when he heard from his father, तो what मतलब was that in the same period 7 days or less or more मतलब?
I don't know. I don't know. I will have to ask.
I think he stayed in her mom's womb.
But that is for 15 years.
Yeah.
Yes. But for what time period, whether he heard or like that, so that I do not know. Because as soon as he came out, he left the home, and he was a completely self-realized person. And but that I do not know that how much time did he heard like that. So
I mean, is Bhagavatam 7 days course? I mean, not course, sorry, but just because he completed in 7 days, so should we assume he like he also heard from his father in 7 days or more days or less days?
we cannot assume it, so that is why we need to ask. We need to ask.
और प्रभु जी कई बार हम लेक्चर में सुनते हैं कि जैसे अभी भी हम पढ़ रहे थे कि सुखदेव गोस्वामी इज ए लिबरेटेड सोल, मतलब ही इज ए ट्रांसेंडेंटल पर्सनालिटी, बट फिर हम देखते हैं कि इमीडिएटली आफ्टर हिज बर्थ और कमिंग आउट ऑफ द वूम ही रन्स टू द फॉरेस्ट.
Yes.
So are not these two statements contradict?
No, he did not want to come out actually because he was
okay,
yeah.
but I mean, sorry, how do we understand?
So it is also like written that in the आगे का क्या पढ़ेंगे in second canto also and in 18th chapter also, that Prabhupada writes that in the initially that he was an impersonalist in the beginning.
ये मोनिज्म आया था ना एक वर्ड ट्रांसलेशन में.
हाँ, as a monist or as a monism, he was completely into that. He was an impersonalist but converted to a devotee by the attraction of the pastimes of the Lord and of course by the mercy.
But that was after his father spoke to him Srimad Bhagavatam, I think. Yeah, I mean, he spoke 2 shlokas of the कौन से वो जो Krishna वो जो मतलब his father speaks 2 shlokas no, when he is running to the forest की मतलब
correct. I don't remember the shlokas.
Yes, even I'm missing somehow, sorry.
Yes.
After hearing those two shlokas, he comes back. He stops. Then he comes back to his father. Who is this personality who is so merciful that he is delivering to the
Correct.
personality
So,
who not
so
reading?
Vyasdev ji is a householder, but Sukhdev Goswami is not. He is Avdut and like Naistik, Brahmachari, and monist, like that. So he leaves. He did not want to come out, but then he got assurance that okay, he will not be captured by the Maya, and then he comes out, and then his pastimes are there. So these are qualities of Avdut.
तो जी मोनिस्ट को कैसे समझे, क्या मोनिज्म, मोनिस्ट
Monist as an impersonalist only.
शून्यवादी मतलब शून्यवादी
Yeah.
हिंदी
मतलब इंग्लिश मीनिंग तो उसका वननेस होता है ना, वननेस मतलब
Oneness as in Nirvishesha Shunyavad. Shunyavad is voidism. Oneness is impersonalism, na? Oneness is impersonalism only, where everything is in one, everything is one in that sense. वो Shunyavad is everything is nothing.
अच्छा,
Voidism.
हमारा जो है वो क्या डुअल, क्या बोलते हैं उसको,
वो तो हमारा
डुअलिज्म,
अचिंत्य
डुअलिज्म,
ड्यूलिज्म है, ड्यूलिज्म
डुअलिज्म हो गया ना, मतलब है
वी आर टू।
हमारा मतलब हमारा
हम जो फॉलो करते हैं जी,
हम तो अचिंत्य भेद करते हैं,
बट उसको क्या बोलेंगे, डुअलिज्म मतलब
ना अचिंत्य भेद बोलेंगे उसको तो
नहीं,
उसको
बट
तो
इंग्लिश दो ही हो।
उसको ना द्वैतवाद बोलेंगे ना द्वैत अद्वैत बोलेंगे, ये भी अलग अलग थ्योरीज हैं, द्वैतवाद द्वैत अद्वैत, और उसके बाद एक वो भी शुद्ध शुद्ध द्वैत ऐसा भी है, उसके बाद एक है शून्यवाद. सो बट अवर्स इज अचिंत्य भेद व्हिच कवर्स एवरीथिंग.
बट प्रभु जी जीव और मतलब वी आर टू ना, मतलब लॉर्ड इज वन, मतलब वी आर हिज पार्ट एंड पार्सल, अदरवाइज वी आर टू, मतलब इन सिंपल टर्म्स
That is what Achintya Veda Bhed is, that we are one as well as we are
डिफरेंट,
Yes.
राइट।
That is what it is inconceivable.
गिराज प्रभु जी ने बताया था ना क्लास में भी जब हम जा रहे थे, वननेस इज इन द मिशन ऑफ द लॉर्ड,
Oneness is in interest of the Lord. Yes, oneness. Prabhupada is purport में oneness means oneness in the service or oneness in the interest of the Lord. Yes.
इंटरेस्ट मिशन,
Not that oneness means that we have to merge and
मर्जिंग विद द लॉर्ड। यस, वननेस मीन सर्विस या जो मिशन जो आप कह रहे हैं, वी आर।
तो सुखदेव गोस्वामी वाज impersonalist.
He was impersonalist in the beginning, but converted to a devotee.
But वो तो राधा रानी के eternal servant है, how was he?
Correct. So that question I also had, and I do not know to that part of in one sense we can understand that these are all pastime, and but yes, impersonalist, but there is Nitya Siddh. So that is also question that Nitya Siddh or Nitya Pad in that sense. Of course, not Nitya Pad. That must not be. But I do not know to that part. So there are few things that we need to note it down and ask.
Yes.
Yeah. I also had the same question when I read it. So are there any more?
प्रभु जी, so इस श्लोक में मोनिज्म मतलब is it more like एकात्मवाद, या rather what they mean here is कि he was focused on one thing. I mean, he was single-minded focused. Is it more on like a focused, attentive person versus his philosophy, or not?
No. Their monism means वही है, निर्विकल्पकः, absolute monist, fixed in monism or oneness of mind. What does Prabhupada write?
मतलब जो विकल्प सुकल्प, मतलब जो अलग अलग ऑप्शंस से डेविएट नहीं होता है, who is like focused kind of, I mean, if not an exact meaning.
As far as I understand, it has to do with impersonalism.
Okay.
Yes. But Prabhupada does not write anything in the purport.
जी.
Yeah. Maybe we need to ask. Monist, as an equibalanced monist, he was transcendental to mundane activities.
Translation में भी they say concentrated in monism, and monism is like oneness of mind. but not oneness with the God. So
We need to ask. Correct.
sure, Ji Prabhu.
But as far as I understand, so that thing was there, sure, that he was an impersonalist and he got converted into that. I am quoting right now. It is from Bhagavatam 2.1.9 that Sukdev Goswami was also an impersonalist at the beginning, and he himself has admitted in the Bhagavatam. But later on, he was attracted by the transcendental personalities of the Lord and thus became a devotee. Such devotees with perfect knowledge are called as Mahabhagavat or first class devotees.
Get it.
But in what context that the shloka tells about monist, it could be like fixed in monism. That denies the existence of distinction of duality, or I think it is the same thing only. Like initially he was in monism, where it is said that there is no existence of difference, like there is no distinction or duality in some sphere, like such as difference between matter and mind or God in the worlds in that sense. But maybe we can ask. It is better to ask only. Okay.
Helpful, Prabhu. Thank you.
So we'll close the session over here now.
Sure. Ji.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते शारदश्रुते गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शून्यवादी पश्चात् कृपा सिंधु वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जो गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.